Aloha and welcome back. So we're going to talk about Trump shutting down the Department of Education. We got Tim Black talking to Dr. Musa Abdullah. So just the way it is, I don't really fit on screen, so I'm going to let you be able to see their names and their faces. I just got my thing at the top corner. But without further ado, Tim Black and Dr. Musa Abdullah.
On deck with Tim Black.
This is a good thing that Trump is doing.
It's something that should have been done a long time ago.
Wow.
It's only getting pushed back because it's Trump. That's the only reason why. And this is what you don't see. Check it out. You don't see teachers complaining about that. I have yet to, in 24 years of being an educator, I have never said, thank goodness for the Department of Education.
Speaking of education, we talk about the Board of Education and what's going on with that. I got a lot of viewers. Is it Tim? Brother, you wrong about the Board of Education, man. This is a travesty what they're doing. And, you know, it benefits a lot of black folks having the Board of Education. And where are you coming from, Tim Black? And I look at the situation, I'm like, I've never had anybody ever in my history of being black ever say, thank God for the Board of Education. They may say, thank God for my teacher, Dr. Musa Abdullah. They may say, thank God for the resource that was provided, or I got a great guidance counselor. The principal was a lot nicer and understanding than I thought they were going to be. We recently had to go to school for our daughter and work through some things, and we sitting there with the resource person, the vice principal, and another person, a therapist. I'm like, wow, this is great. We have all these people at the table about my daughter's issue. Right. With a class with her teacher, and we getting this all sorted out, and we got a plan of action, and people following up, and we got the class dojo app for the kids. We got all these things, and I say this is great, but you know what? It didn't have anything to do with the Department of Education. It had to do with resources in that school. So, Dr. Abdullah, what are your thoughts on what's going on with the Board of Education? Should it be phased out? Is Trump playing politics, or is this something that we should be upset about?
The Department of Education, I liken it unto the MTA, the Metro Transit Authority of New York City. It is a money pit. And I'm going to tell you, let me give all the viewers something they may not know, especially if you were born in the 70s. If you were born, early 70s to mid 70s.
Okay.
There was a part of your academic career when the Department of Education didn't even exist. The Department of Education wasn't even established until 1980.
I did not know that.
That's Reagan.
Exactly. So if you're talking about how important it was, why did it take till the 80s to establish? Right? So this is what they recognize. There is so much money in education. We need to get in on this hustle. And it is a hustle. Up until that point, the states controlled the finances. And because they controlled the finances, they had more say in what was happening. And I'm going to tell you, if it were not for the Department of Education and some of the many politicians that subscribe to the idea of the Department of Education, this standardized testing wouldn't even be a thing like it is.
Wow.
And this is something people don't ever talk about because they're not in education. You got people that are not in education making educational policies, telling educators what we should do.
Yeah, see, I think that's stupid. I think educators should have a lot more say. Teachers should have a lot more say in what the curriculum should be, because they know, right? They're the ones there in the class. They're the ones working with the kids, and they're the ones teaching the kids. They just know better. I don't think that Bill Gates or Elon Musk should be out there creating new math programs or anything like that and telling teachers how to teach.
Well, let me say this to you.
Why are you not investing?
Standardized testing is the dumbest thing on the planet if you are telling us we need to have differentiated instruction. So you want to tell me I need to tailor my instruction, but the test is standard? That's a contradiction in itself. But where does that come from? That comes from the state governments who take their cues from the federal government. No Child Left Behind was one of the worst educational policies ever introduced. But no one ever talks about it. It's kind of like, hey, It's gone now. At least we don't have to
I
deal with it
remember
anymore.
this. What was so devastating about it? So that was implemented by the Board of Education, correct?
That was implemented by the Department of Education, where it gave standardized testing, and essentially it gave reward to those who were proficient on a massive scale, district wide. If they were proficient, those districts received more money. But see, this is what people don't know. And I know because I was an educator during No Child Left Behind, and I dealt with the opposite end of it. Now, this is what's crazy. Just like the economic system in America where the middle class gets crushed, that's how it is in education. You got a lot of money if your school districts did well, but you also got a lot of money if your school districts did poorly.
What?
Yeah. They threw money at the problem. But the people in the middle, if you did okay, they're like, oh, you're okay. You don't need anything, you're good.
See, yeah, that's not cool.
The people did well, oh, you did well, we're going to reward you. Not even taking into consideration that schools changed their entire curriculum strategy to teach to the test.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the ones who didn't have the financial abilities to teach to the test and have test prep and all of those.
Yeah, seeing before all this, we used to have the highest education rate, like the highest test scores. At least that's what I read and whatnot. But now we're towards the bottom in most test scores. So I think it should be more the teachers, making the decision rather than giving out standardized tests that they're going to try to teach your students just to be able to pass a standardized test rather than to critically think.
Those are the poor schools. Those are schools I've worked in all of my career. They got a lot of money too. But the money was top heavy. So you would say, on average, a child in the district in which I worked, the average per child disbursement was about $24,000 per child. Well, if your district was terrible, now it bumped up to 30. They gave you an extra $6,000 per child.
Wow.
Oh, snap.
Right? But guess where that money went, Brother Black?
Oh.
Administrators and administrative functions. Kids never saw it. Kids never saw it. Even during No Child Left Behind, even when the per capita, where the amount of money they gave per student was increased, me and my fellow staff members still had to buy supplies for kids. So that's how No Child Left Behind.
Like a lot of that money should have went to supplies. It should have been like delegated to go to certain things.
I became one of the biggest farces in American education.
Brother. I feel like it's always the same song. We are just an instrument for people to make money off of us. That's all it is. It sounds like the same thing with all the other agencies. It's just a big slush fund. People picking up money. People just making out. So to you, if we lose the Department of Education, it's got to be some pluses to have it, right?
Of course.
Could you name some pluses and pros and cons to having it and letting it go? What's the pros to having it in place?
Well, I would say this. A big pro is that the local governments and the state governments will have to actually rely on educators to make educational policy. Go figure. So because now they're not getting directions from other politicians. They have to say, well, now we're out here by ourselves, and as a politician, you're on the let's use New York. You're up in Albany. Well, you're a politician. You don't know anything about education. You can't create educational policy. You can't. You don't know. You wouldn't know where to begin. So what do you have to do now? You have to defer to educators, and the educators will say that what you did the last 5 years, that we knew that wasn't going to work when you introduced it. So now the major pro is that educators will be in charge of the devising, the curriculums, the implementation of educational policy, right? That's one.
That's how it
Another
should
thing,
be.
the money has less hands to pass through. And now actual educators will be able to say, stop giving superintendents $300,000 a year jobs.
That's crazy.
$250,000 a year jobs. Stop paying their literally, and I'm gonna say this from what I know, literally, brother, the assistants to the assist. Let me make sure I get it right. I don't want to screw it up because I want you to get this message. The assistants to the assistant superintendents are making $180,000 a year.
That's wild.
I want
The assistant to the assistant superintendent. So that's like the assistant's assistant makes $180,000 a year. That should be going to the teachers. Like how he says the teacher has to buy supplies. So if the teachers got paid more, or they should have like a supply fund or whatever. But you give the teachers an extra $10,000 a year, or extra $15,000 a year, then it makes it a lot easier to buy more supplies.
we got to pause. Let's smoke that over. The assistants to an assistant.
You said assistant to the assistant
is getting $180,000.
I didn't know that. That's a pretty good job. I would have went
But
there.
I'm still buying pencils for my students.
That's what
I'm buying
saying.
notebooks from the Dollar General for my students.
Right.
So that's a major pro because now that money's got to actually go to the kids. Now, here's the con that a lot of us are worried about. Now that the states are in control, well, now it depends on where you live, the types of curriculum that are allowed and that are disseminated to the teachers. Right. So you may very well have a government in your state that says, no, we ain't talking about all that old civil rights stuff and all that old, no, we ain't talking about, we're talking about American history and their idea of American history is white history.
Leave that out. Yeah, leave
that out. That's
out.
We ain't talking about that. Yeah, it was an unfortunate circumstance, but let's focus on the end result, right? So depending on where you are, that can be a major detriment. But but to be very honest, that should be our community's push to create our own institutions under charter systems or private systems. But
so you support charter schools?
Oh yeah, I definitely support charter schools. I definitely support them.
Okay.
Without question. And the reason why I support them is because the money is going directly to the staff and it's going directly to the students. I work in a charter school, brother.
Okay.
And this is the first time I've always worked in district schools. But ironically, the charter school I work at is literally around the corner from the district school I worked in.
Got you.
So I have the same students.
Wow.
Same families. This is how you know I've been in the game for a minute. I literally had a student that just left my school last year. I had her mother in the 6th grade.
Wow.
So that tells you I'm in the same community, right? So you can't say, oh, you getting different kids. No. I'm getting the children of my former students.
Wow.
But I'm telling you, brother, my fellow educating staff members, they don't want for anything. And our children know it. Our children are spoiled. They don't know what it means to not have. They don't know. They don't know what it means to not be given access to programs and speakers and assemblies and lunches that are catered to the fact that we want them to be healthier. They don't know that. They don't know they don't know what it means to not have it, because the majority of our children have been with us from kindergarten all the way to 8th grade.
Asking celebrity businessman.
So they understand just by the way they live in our academic environment, that whole charter system would actually be boosted if the Department of Education wasn't there. Wow. So as much as we have now, we'd actually get more.
Why would there be more resources?
Because it's fewer hands at the very top.
Okay.
Messing around with the money.
Because
people don't know, 80% of every tax dollar, property tax dollar in your state goes to public education.
80%.
80%. 80 cents of every dollar goes to public education. But a lot of that money it's touched by your politicians. Because they have mandates, they gotta grease palms, they gotta figure out which district they want to get more money than the other, and all that talk, all that finagling, all like you said, the slush fund.
Mhm.
The Department of Education, I have yet to, in 24 years of being an educator, I have never said, thank goodness for the Department of Education.
There it is.
I've never even met a person who worked at the Department of Education, and I lived in Maryland.
So what's the pushback? Is this a good thing that Trump is doing?
It's something that should have been done a long time ago.
Wow.
It's only getting pushed back because it's Trump.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why. And this is what you don't see. Check it out. You don't see teachers complaining about that. You don't hear educators saying, "Oh my God, they're getting rid of the Department." Said no teacher ever.
But Jason Crockett said it's bad, and it's because he wants to take your money and give it to Elon Musk, because Elon Musk wants to do things like go to the moon with the money.
Right.
And what's $5,000 anyway if you're living on the street?
Right. And once again, I say with full transparency, you have yet to hear an educator complain about the elimination of the Department of Education.
Wow.
As a matter of fact,
I guess try that experiment. Go around and ask a couple educators what they think about the Department of Education.
Even a conversation. It's not a conversation.
We're Phoenix Center.
So that's Tim Black and Dr. Musa Abdullah, talking about the DOE, Department of Education, Trump getting rid of it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's good or bad. We'll see soon. Or I don't know if we'll see soon, but we'll see in the long run. And until then, keep getting your information from across the spectrum.